Once there's a lad, his name was Joe. He had a thought, a podcast show about a game that all would play. That game was Pokemon Go.
Hey, hey, the Waylord comes as large as a ship and 100 tons. Hey, hey,
How's
the
it
Waylord
going,
comes, he'll
everybody?
crush all in.
This is Pokemon GO Podcast, an excellent place for people who are not Charles, because he's not even here tonight. What a jerk. No, his boss, I guess, said, hey, stay another day down at Disney. And Charles is like, well, I guess if you twist my arm. So he is still down there, but as always, you have me, Joseph_Ard, here with you tonight. And it will be probably, I'm not going to lie, it'll probably be a little bit of a shorter show. But it'll still be great and wonderful and amazing and salty and all that jazz. Maybe a little bit sweet, savory, it'll be a tasty meal. A tasty meal indeed. So this past week, I feel like it's more and more what I've been saying lately, that it's just been slammed at work, and it really has been. But I have caught a fair amount of stuff this past week. Nothing super amazing. I've caught all the Litwicks that I could find in preparation for the upcoming community day, and just in general catching whatever pops up. So but yeah, super crazy at work, and as you can tell, Charles isn't even here. He's on a quote unquote work trip to Disney. So but yeah, no, he's having a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and check. I saw in our Discord that there were some pretty awesome experiences over in our Discord, and I am going to live vicariously through them tonight. Let's see. So we need to back it up to the 7th. There we go. So Kittens and Knives coming in with a shiny 98% Xerneas. That is beautiful. Beautiful. Kittens also showing up with a Pikachu V full art card. Very nice. And then, as always, it wouldn't be a TCG explanation from Kittens if he didn't throw in some evolutions. So a Jolteon Max full art card, and then a Jolteon V full art card. I think I like the Jolteon V artwork the best. I know that our podcast listeners can't see, but it looks pretty stellar. And I haven't played the TCG competitively ever, but I haven't played even just the game itself in years, since I was a teenager. So yeah, poor Devosite. He has now had not one, but two Galarian Articunos run from him. And I feel that pain indeed, Devosite. Who is actually actively typing in the chat, in the experiences chat right now. So that is pretty awesome. And he's here live as well. Postywan Kenobi showing up with 5 shiny Xerneas, a shiny Kangaskhan, and a shiny Hoppip. So very nice there. Very nice indeed. Kittens showing off a bunch of shinies as well. A Spearow, Magby, Teddiursa, another shiny Xerneas, an Eevee, but no Flower Crown, so it's okay, Charles. You don't have to have a PTSD or anything like that from it. No attacks there. And then a perfect Great League PvP IVs for a Meganium. And so for those that are curious what those IVs are for the Meganium, it's a 0, 10, 15 on the Meganium IVs. So nice there. And he's using, what's that? Pokegenie. He's using Pokegenie to determine whether it's perfect IVs for PvP. And then Kittens. I saw him typing this one earlier today live. He said that he was standing in the same spot for 20 minutes and he saw a Natu on the screen. He was like, nah, I'm not going to catch that Natu. And he finally caught it specifically on his alternate account. Or no, he finally caught it on his main account. His alternate account caught something different. He caught it and it was a shiny Natu. And then on his alternate account, he got a shiny Totodile. And then right before the show, right before being relative, within the past hour, he also nabbed himself a shiny Combee. And if DevoSite ends up typing in what his experience was this week, I'll get to that here in just a second as well. But let's head on over to Discord and look at our discussion from this past week. So for a reminder for those that do not remember what the discussion topic was for this past week, it was, what is the worst Pokemon that could get a Mega in the future, basically? And we've got from Mr. Tambourine, and they say unknown. And yeah, no, that would be horrible. So Mr. Tambourine says, not only would it be fairly useless, but you would have to eventually evolve a bunch of them just to get close to completing the set. Also, I would love to see a Mega Flower Crown Eevee just to watch Charles's head explode. Civilian on Base here in the chat says that Mega Pikachu would be one of the worst Pokemon that could get a Mega. Ironically, I don't see Unknown ever getting a Mega. I could see Pikachu getting a Mega. Now, maybe not simply because Pikachu did get the, what's it called? Gigantamax. And so maybe Pikachu won't get a Mega simply because he got a Gigantamax. But, you know, maybe if they're ever feeling a bit spicy, they could just toss it in there for a Mega Pikachu. I feel bad for Raichu because Pikachu obviously is the main Pokemon in the anime, and so he gets all the love. But Raichu, I think Raichu looks cooler in general, and so I feel bad for Raichu. It's sad. It really is sad. Now for me, what I would say as the worst Pokemon that could get a Mega, not saying that he will get a Mega, obviously, because we don't necessarily know the future, usually, sometimes. But the worst Pokemon that I could see, I don't know how realistically it would be to get a Mega, but Wobbuffet. When in the anime, when Jesse and James got Wobbuffet, that was such an annoying addition to the anime, in my opinion. Wobbuffet, like it was so pointless. Like, okay, I don't know how many of our listeners have actually watched the anime, but when Team Rocket was first introduced, like very, very first introduced, they were hyped up to be like really, really hardcore villains, like gonna be, and a lot of Team Rocket is that way. But the Team Rocket that we see, Jesse, James, and Meowth, they're straight up comic relief, and at times they're even anti-heroes instead of villains, to be completely honest. Like, and I kind of wish we had more outright villains in the earlier seasons. Like, even in later seasons, outright villains don't really exist, at least in the anime. And I haven't read the manga. Perhaps they are more ruthless in the manga. And I get that it's supposed to be a kid's show, and so it might not jive well at all. But I would love to see actual scary villains that, yeah. I think it'd be good. I think it'd be good for the show. I think it would be good to watch and fun to watch. Instead of these people that are either comic relief or they're not really villains because what they're trying to do is like their motivations are good. Anyway, that is not the topic we had. But actually, you know what? That may not be the topic we had this week. But why don't we ask as the discussion for next week? It will be future villains. What would you like to see for future villains in the Pokemon anime? Like, would you like to see a specific trait? Would you like to see specific motivation? You know, anything you would like to see out of future villains in the Pokemon anime. What would you like to see? So let me type that up real quick since I'm here without Charles to fill in the awkward silence. Boom. All right. And so that will go up on Reddit. And again, that is that's reddit.com/r/Pokemon GO Podcast. If you want to hop over there and fill in your own answer on that. We are going to go ahead and cut off to a commercial break. I know I just copied some YouTuber out there, I'm sure. But here we go. All right, and we're back. All right, so this first headline is a little bit retroactive since this already happened in the past, but I wanted to use this kind of as a jumping off point for something that we've harped on in the past, to be completely blunt. But this past raid day, the Mega Gyarados raid day, it was supposed to be 2 to 5 p.m. local time. They accidentally, in some of the earlier time zones, had it kick off at 11 a.m. And so what they did for every other region is they just ran it from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. So everyone got a total of 6 hours. To be honest, they should just do that anyway. Give us back our 6-hour time frames for Community Day, make it for Raid Day. You know, they make these. They say Raid Day. A day is 24 hours. I know they're not going to give us 24 hours. Plus, I mean, raids don't run 24 hours anyway. But at least give us a quarter of a day. Give us the 6 hours instead of 1/8 of a day. Mega Gyarados raid 1/8 of a day. No. And so I think they should just give it back. Hashtag give it back, Niantic. You know, we skipped it a while back. What was that, 3-4 weeks ago, where we had a source that listed all of the things that Niantic has gotten rid of over the past couple of years, or at least the last year. And there's been a ton. Niantic has gotten rid of a lot. And when is the last time they've really done something innovative in the game? like truly innovative. Like of course the Ultra Beasts, their little warp thing, it wasn't an egg, but it was still a raid. I would love to see something truly innovative. Like the last thing that was super innovative, was it the friends list? I'm sure that there has been something, like they've done minor tweaks here and there. They added the mid-level evolution raids to community days. They have done some quality of life things. So they have added some things that I am guilty of it, and I know the community is guilty of it, of not giving them their due credit for some of the things that they have added to the game, some of the quality of life stuff to the different normal events that we get. Because with those raids, you can do, assuming you live in an area where those raids are actually available, you can do those raids, and then the community day Pokemon will spawn more frequently around that gym for a little while as well. So that is something nice that they have added, but they have just taken away so many things from there. I mean, there's got to be a fair number of people who during the pandemic joined Pokemon Go and they didn't know all the things that were added temporarily for Pokemon Go because of the pandemic. And it'll be interesting to see where they find. I still feel like things are still kind of up in the air in what Niantic wants to do versus their own vision for the future. And it'll be interesting to see where they end up landing, because right now it's not. It's like we talked about last week with the profit margins for this year and the projections. It's not landing with the community, and I get that globally, the people don't have times are hard as far as money goes, and so I get that is also a contributing factor, and not just Niantic's decisions, but Niantic is really shooting themselves in the foot because people are already stressed because of the financial condition of basically the world right now. And they're taking away all of these things that used to bring us, a modicum of happiness and fun. And that I personally have seen a lot of people, not as many as I was expecting, to be honest, but I've seen a lot of people leaving the game over the past 6 months because Niantic has been making poor decisions, in my opinion. Now, obviously, they don't think so, or else they would roll it back, or maybe they're being too prideful and they don't want to roll back some of this stuff. But they need to realize this isn't working for a lot of the community. Real talk, they kind of suck right now. and those that have been with us for a long time know that we love to bash on Niantic, but we also like to give them credit when credit is due, and it's been real hard to give them credit this year, because they keep taking stuff away and they're not bringing stuff back like they ought to. We've said it over and over again. Where are our EX raids? Are they coming back? Why don't we have megas in our boxes anymore? Our research boxes, we've talked about this multiple times. I probably don't need to harp on it, but I'm going to mention it. They could definitely use a boost, giving us increased chances of them being shiny, or making them making them legendaries again. I think I said megas earlier as well. I meant legendaries. Why aren't there legendaries in the boxes? Just in general, Niantic, do better. You need to remember that this is a game. I realize you're an AR company. You're not a game company, but you make games, and you need to remember this is a game, and it's supposed to be fun. Where's the fun, Niantic? Where's the fun? But anyway, on to a bit of prophecy fulfilled, as it were. Pokemon Go, Niantic specifically, has announced the part 1 of the Halloween event. And I called it. Mega Banette is coming. And no one is surprised that bucketfuls of candy. Well, yeah, Halloween generally is associated with candy. So we normally get extra candy Halloween and Easter. I mean, those are like go-tos, and then sporadically throughout the year. But so we're getting Mega Banette. Will be popping up in raids. Actually, a really short window. I'm kind of surprised at how short the window is, and I can't remember if we already knew the window or not. But it's only a week, October 20th to October 27th. 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. local time. Mega Banette will be popping up in Mega Raids. We also have our timed research, special timed research, and they've got multiple different tickets. So ticket 1 and ticket 2. The cheaper one will give you access to a timed research featuring encounters with Yamask and Galarian Yamask. And that's the $1 tier. Well, for me it is anyway. Local conversion rates apply. And then the upper tier is $5. And these seem like they're two completely separate tickets, paid tickets. But the other one gives you timed research featuring increased candy bonuses and additional Halloween-themed tasks and an avatar pose. I'm not going to lie, I don't care about these timed research. But and these aren't special research, so they're timed, so they time out. You have until November 1st to complete them, or else it will expire. So you're paying for it, and if you don't finish it, granted, most people are going to finish it if they try even a little bit, I'm sure. But yeah, this really feels lackluster. At least the time, I'm like, Niantic's just trying to nickel and dime us, because again, their profit projections have been pretty slim this year compared to previous years. But then there's the special research, which I believe is going to go out to everyone. It doesn't say that it's paid. And in the special research, we've got Professor Willow again joined by Rye. And man, I'm surprised Rye is sticking around for so long. I thought he would just be popping up when we had Ultra Beasts, and maybe scrolling down. I don't see any mention of Ultra Beasts unless they're going to surprise us with Ultra Beasts. I just assumed that Rye would only be popping up for Ultra Beasts. But the special research is going to be here. Well, we can have it or collect it because it's special research. It shouldn't be going away on October 20th, although it does specifically list until November 1st. Or maybe it's just you need to start it between those times. But they are also debuting shiny Galarian Yamask as well. And then in eggs, which again, these are going to be, the rates on this are not going to be what they claim them to be, but all in a single rate tier. They have Yamask, Galarian Yamask, Phantump, Golett, and Noibat. And if I had to guess, Phantump and the Yamasks are going to appear a lot more than Golett and Noibat. That would be my guess. And actually, probably the normal Yamask will appear more than the Galarian Yamask. That's my gut feel on that. Because that's what Niantic likes to do. And then in the wild is going to be a lot of Halloween type Pokemon, Halloween themed Pokemon. So Zubat, Ghastly, Haunter is going to be in the wild. Spinarak, Murkrow, Mischievous, Sableye, Shuppet, Dusclops, Absol, Drifloon, Yamask, Golett, Phantump, and Pumpkaboo. And it specifically does not have the shiny symbol on Hunter, and Dusclops, even though they're shinies. So you can catch their lower forms as shinies, but apparently you can't catch the evolved forms as shinies. And then those last three, their shinies haven't been released. Golett, Phantump, and Pumpkaboo. They are not there. They are giving us a spooky pose during the event. Basically, you walk like a mummy. You shamble forward. And then some new avatar items are going to be popping up in the shop. A Dusclops costume, a Dusclops head wrap, and a Zubat headband. None of which tickle my fancy, but for all of you costume or avatar item lovers, get out and get it. Get you some. And then also, they are going to actually be changing up how the game looks a little bit. The Pokestops and gyms are going to be decorated for the holidays. And then coming back again this year is the Lavender Town music, which I personally don't play with music on, so maybe I'll go and look at the YouTube video because they linked it there in the announcement, and listen to it. But yeah, and then we will also have an alter. Let's see, where is this? It just says featured attacks. Oh, because they're in raids. Duh. In 5-star raids, it's going to be altered form Giratina, and it will know Shadow Force. Interesting. I'll have to check and see if Shadow Force is any good, because the power level on it looks good, but I don't know how much, I would assume it takes a full charge, just like Hyper Beam or something like that. But yeah, it's got 120 power in training battles, so that's pretty nice, pretty solid. But yeah, and then raids are, again, Halloween themed. So a lot of the ones that that are appearing in the wild are appearing in raids. But it specifically mentions 3-star raids. Gengar can be shiny. And then the altered form Giratina, Giratina is pretty strong, so you may want to grab him. And then, of course, Mega Banette is making its debut. And it actually put the shiny symbol on Mega Banette. So it looks like from those raids, you'll be able to catch them as shiny as well, which I think is pretty standard for mega raids in general, is that you can catch the fully evolved shinies from those. So yeah. And then in field research, you can get Mega Gengar candy and or Mega Absol candy from completing specific things. But speaking of moves and how much damage they deal, someone on the Silph Road by the name of Backstroker 1991 did a quick comparison, which I'm sure is also just on a bunch of the different websites, but it's Chandelure. So Chandelure for Community Day is going to be getting which move? I think it's getting Poltergeist. Yes, Poltergeist. It's getting Poltergeist, but it can already learn Shadow Ball. Currently, its best move is Shadow Ball, and even with Poltergeist is weaker in DPS than Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is overall better. However, and I can't stress this enough, make sure to evolve a few Chandelure anyway with Poltergeist, simply because they might patch it in the future and make it better. So even though Shadow Ball is currently better, you want to have it there for the future just in case. Because even if they don't patch it and you want to switch to Shadow Ball, you can use a TM to switch to Shadow Ball, but you can't use a TM to switch to Poltergeist unless you have an Elite TM, of course. And so, yeah, just FYI, if you're looking for a Chandelure to immediately use for battles, you're going to want Shadow Ball. And what you could do if you have plenty of candy, is get it with Poltergeist, but then have the second move be Shadow Ball. So then you've got both on there, and it's best of both worlds until they buff Poltergeist. So, which that's probably what I'll end up doing, to be completely honest, is just putting both of them on there. But speaking of PvP, we have, I mean, not that Charles and I need more reasons not to do PvP because we just don't like it, but a Redditor by the name of Anon636391 posted on the Silph Road, "The constant lag in GBL has ruined GBL for me. When will Niantic fix this games?" So this was posted a few days ago, and they said that they played 4 sets out of today. 7 of those 20 battles had extreme lag, causing me or my opponent the opportunity to have unfair advantage. And they specify they have good internet. 200. He says 200 GBS, gigabytes per second. I doubt it's GBS. It's probably megabytes per second. I don't know of anywhere in the world that a residential area offers 200 gigabyte per second internet. So my guess is it's megabits per second, and that's a typo there, because that would be wicked, and I would want to know where they live. But they said that their internet is 200, and I'm correcting it to megabits per second. So they know for a fact that it isn't on their end. This has been a constant problem, and it never gets fixed. Seems to only get worse. And a bunch of the people in the community say that basically I'll just read verbatim from Tito-Victor says, "The PvP for this game simply doesn't work as a mobile game. It requires you to click super fast, spam it, and make every click count. A single miss and you're done for. And on a mobile's inconsistency, it simply doesn't work at all. I don't think they care about it, to be honest." 100%. Niantic doesn't care. They have no plans to make this an e-sport, even though they had the tournament. It's never going to be a real e-sport, and they have no aspirations to actually make it a respected e-sport. And they're not a gaming company. They're a VR or an AR company, and they simply they don't care. So I don't see the lag and disconnect issues getting resolved anytime soon, if ever, to be completely blunt. I just don't see it. Niantic, it's not a priority for Niantic, and so it's not going to happen. But yeah, just another reason, if you were looking for one. There's a lot of people that like the Great Battle League. Like, for instance, Kittens and Knives, he really likes doing PvP. But I think in general, I'm curious. I would love someone to do a poll on the Silph Road, which means I should probably do one, but I probably won't. But I would love to see what the community, like how many people in the community actually take GBL seriously. So the poll would be like, I seriously do GBL, I casually do GBL, or I basically ignore GBL. I do little to none. And I'd love to see those metrics. But then again, I'm kind of a statistics guy. And speaking of statistics, we have from a Redditor, Polymers Up, in my opinion, interesting, because again, I love numbers, I love statistics. But this is the meta trends by season. Granted, they're lumping the season into years, so the 2022 season, and he's got it listed as the 2023 season. So I don't know what he's considering the 2023 season, because we haven't started that yet. But regardless, it's interesting to see. I assume he meant 2021 and 2022 is what I would guess, but I could be completely off on that. But in the past, it's shown the usage percentage for different Pokemon. So like Wailerin and Sableye and Registeel used to be big in the meta, and this is, I don't know if this is a specific league or just usage in general. I think it's just usage in general, because he doesn't seem to specify. See, I'd like it broken down more, to be completely honest. Okay, so for the 2023 season, quote unquote, it's the data for September through October of 2022. And the 2022 season was May to June of 2022. So that's kind of a weird differential there. But it has trending up. So it's got trending up and trending down. Trending up right now is Altaria, I think is that one. Yeah. Altaria is trending up, as well as Galarian Stunfisk, and actually trending up is what's the newish we talked to, it was really Marini's evolved form is trending up as far as usage goes. Toxipex is trending upwards as well. So it's interesting to see, because they were just barely added to the game. So, I mean, they couldn't have trended down, I suppose. But it's interesting to see what's being used. I don't find this quite as useful from a practical standpoint as some of the graphics that I've seen. Like, this is the current meta. This counters this. This counters this. This counters this. And they've got kind of a cyclical graph of what counters what in the current meta. But again, this is raw data. It's a bar chart showing what's popular and what isn't. For instance, trending down, Wailerin way down, Sableye way down. And I kind of mentioned that they were big in 2022, which means, if they're not big anymore. And Registeel trending way down. All of them, huge deficits. And then some people have basically disappeared from the meta. Alolan Marowak, Tapu Fini, Araquanid, they were all pretty big for 2022. Well, pretty big being relative. They had decent usage, and now they're, for 2023 season, it's just a tiny little sliver. But yeah, very interesting. Like I said, I'm a numbers guy. It's what I do. So I like seeing stuff like this. If you want to see this as well, you can either head over to our Reddit. Again, that's reddit.com/r/Pokemon Go Podcast. Or you can look at our show notes, like on our website, PokemonGoPodcast.com, and see there. And then we've got, last but not least from our sources for tonight, the Silph Road did a study. This is, I didn't even realize they number their studies. This is study number 59, and it was published this past week, Demystifying Ditto. And they compare the rarity and the shiny rates. And the key findings, I love that they put this up at the top and then they go in and explain further what's going down. And so the key findings here is that around, and this is just rough numbers, around 2% of all Pokemon that can be disguised as Dittos are Dittos. So if it is a Pokemon that could be a Ditto, there's roughly a 2% chance that you will run into a Ditto. Some of their, and that's just the average of all the different ones with confidence intervals, and they put p-value and statistics and all of these different things in there. And so that's just the rough estimate. It might not be 2% across the board for each different Pokemon that could be a Ditto, but that's just the estimate after collecting 13,000 data. A small group of Silph researchers spent 5 months tracking down 13,000 Ditto disguises, and this was the data that they collected. And then of those Dittos, when they appeared, roughly 1 in 64 were shiny. So that means, 1 in 64, and you have a 2% chance, which is 1 in 50. So if I pull out my handy dandy calculator, that is roughly every 3,200. So every 3,200 Pokemon that you click on that could be Ditto will result in a shiny Ditto. Based on those numbers, assuming that these numbers are correct from their empirical data. But yeah, that's actually not as bad as I thought it would be, to be honest. But yeah, that is pretty awesome. So for those that are here live, what I do when Charles isn't here, or for those on the podcast rather, when Charles isn't here, I just put up a picture of Charles that I got off of the internet searching Charles McFall. And VO by Kurt says Charles's profile picture is from 20 years ago, and that's probably pretty accurate, to be honest. I mean, probably not quite 20, but I'm guessing it's 15 years ago or so. 10, 15 years. Yeah, it's a little old. It is definitely a little bit old. All right, I just checked. It doesn't look like we've got any speak pipes for this week. Those both appear to be over a week old, and they're from DevaSite. So, Kurt, do you know what time it is? Well, I don't think Kurt's going to answer. So, it is time for Random Trivia. And this week I wanted to talk about Murkrow. Kurt answered. It's random trivia. It's random trivia. So Murkrow is the darkness Pokemon. He is a dark flying type, and he evolves into Haunch Crow, the big boss Pokemon. Man, if Charles was here, he would love that he's the big boss Pokemon, but he's not. So sad. Wah. The Pokedex entry for Murkrow says that it is feared and loathed by many. It is believed to bring misfortune to all those who see it at night. Which, if I'm not mistaken, is some of the mythology surrounding crows in general. Murkrow obviously is based off of a crow. And its name is a combination of murder and crow. Though some people think murky and crow. But personally, I think murder and crow, simply because a group of crows is called a murder. Murder. And then the design of Murkrow, the top of its head very much resembles a witch's hat. And its tail looks like a broom, in my opinion. So they kind of merged a crow with a witch. For this specific Pokemon. And then Haunch Crow, its Pokedex entry says, it is merciless by nature. It is said that it never forgives the mistakes of its Murkrow followers. Ooh, don't want to get on that boss's bad side. So Haunch Crow, his appearance is bulkier than Murkrow. He almost kind of looks like, to me, they say crime boss and things like that. he kind of looks like the cliche pilgrim, like that's gonna be hunting down witches in Salem type of thing. That's kind of what he looks like, because his hat doesn't really, like the top of his head hat, quote unquote, doesn't really look like a witch's hat to me. It looks more like a wide brimmed pilgrim hat type of thing. But yeah, so Haunch Crow is a combination of Honcho and Crow, and Honcho means boss, so he's the boss crow. But yeah, so Murkrow is going to be spawning more for this event. So you can get him, or you can get him in his shiny pink purple fuchsia, his fuchsia form, and have fun with that. If you wanted to email us, you can do so, show@PokemonGoPodcast.com. You can also reach out to us with your voice with our Speak Pipe feature on our website, PokemonGoPodcast.com. There is a green button on the right-hand side that says Speak Pipe, or leave a voice message or something like that. It's a green button. It's there. Click the button. Leave us a Speak Pipe. You can go to Reddit if you want to add your own sources, or if you want to comment on the discussion. It is reddit.com/r/Pokemon Go Podcast. You can reach out to us on Twitter at Pokemon Go Pod. You can find us on YouTube, which is youtube.com/Pokemon Go Podcast. You can find us on TikTok at Pokemon Go Podcast, which our TikToks are done by Civilian, and I hope that Charles has actually connected with Civilian to figure all that out. You can visit Civilian's Etsy shop. That's etsy.com/shop/Murpack, MUIRPACK. He has a whole bunch of awesome stuff there. A lot of it is about K-pop, but there is Pokemon stuff there as well. And actually, speaking of K-pop, Civilian earlier this week was like, hey, if you happen to be, I think it was the LA area, and he was like, hey, just so you know, and I think he's deleted the message now, but he had some tickets that he wasn't going to be able to use for a concert. He was like, anybody here want them? And so, you can get into our Discord by going over to patreon.com/Pokemon Go Podcast, and any of the tiers get you into our Discord. You can watch us live here on twitch.tv/Pokemon Go Podcast. We go live on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can join the likes of Imaginary Nomad, Ninatella, Squishy Twitchy, VO by Kurt, Devo Sight, Civilian on Base, all of these awesome people. And you can follow me personally on Twitter at Joseph_Ard. You can find Charles on Twitter at RockGodOfPod. And until next time, you can hear Charles say nothing, because he went to Disney instead of being here to record. What a jerk.